Have you ever noticed how some people walk through life almost untouchable? No matter what happens, the criticism, the setbacks, the unexpected changes, they remain calm, unbothered. It's not that life doesn't test them. It's that they've mastered the art of letting go. Now imagine if you could do the same, because here's the thing, most of what drains us isn't what happens to us. It's how we hold on to it. Life is unpredictable. No matter how much we plan, how hard we try, or how deeply we care, things will happen that are completely out of our hands. The weather, the economy, other people's opinions, unexpected setbacks, these are realities we cannot dictate. And yet, we spend so much of our energy trying to control them. Think about the last time you were frustrated, anxious, or overwhelmed. Chances are it wasn't just because of the situation itself, it was because you felt powerless over it. That feeling of helplessness, it comes from trying to change something that is simply not ours to change. But here's the thing, while we may not have control over what happens, we do have control over how we respond. And that's where our power truly lies. Imagine you're standing in the middle of a storm, rain pouring down, wind howling around you. You have two choices. You can scream at the sky, demanding the storm to stop, blaming it for ruining your plans, or you can put on a raincoat, find shelter, and wait it out. The storm doesn't change, but your experience of it does, because you chose to focus on what you can control. Now, apply that to everyday life. At work, you can't control your boss's decisions, but you can control your work ethic and your attitude. In relationships, you can control how someone treats you, but you can control your boundaries and how much energy you invest. In stressful situations, you can't always control the outcome, but you can control how much mental space you allow it to take up. The moment we shift our focus from what we wish we could control to what we actually can control, we take back our power. We stop wasting energy on things that don't serve us, and we start investing it where it makes a difference. When we focus on what's within our control, we become more resilient, more adaptable, less reactive. Stress no longer dictates our emotions, and circumstances no longer define our peace. Because at the end of the day, it's not about controlling everything, it's about controlling what truly matters. There's a misconception that letting go means not caring, that in order to be unbothered, we must become indifferent, emotionally numb, or disengaged. But that's not true. The goal isn't to stop feeling, it's to stop letting our feelings control us. Detachment doesn't mean shutting down, it means stepping back just enough to see things clearly. It means being fully present in a situation without becoming entangled in it. Think about a time when someone's words or actions ruined your entire day. Maybe it was a rude comment, a rejection, or a disagreement that kept replaying in your head long after it happened. Why does this happen? Because we attach ourselves too deeply to external validation, to outcomes, to the way we think things should be. When we attach, we make our happiness conditional. We say, I'll be at peace if things go my way. But when we detach, we shift our mindset to, I'll be at peace regardless of how things go. That's the difference. Consider an actor on a stage. They fully embody their role, pouring emotion into every line. But when the curtain falls, they step out of character and return to themselves. They don't carry the weight of their performance home. That's what healthy detachment looks like. Showing up fully, but knowing when to step back. But detachment is not disconnection. Disconnection is avoidance. It's when we build emotional walls so high that nothing gets in. Not pain, not joy, not love. It's when we pretend not to care to protect ourselves from disappointment. It's checking out of conversations, relationships, and responsibilities because we're afraid of getting hurt. Detachment, on the other hand, is an act of presence, not absence. It allows us to engage in life without losing ourselves in it, to care deeply, but not desperately, to love fully, but without clinging, to give our best effort, but without being defined by the outcome. And the beauty of detachment? It brings freedom. Freedom from overthinking, freedom from resentment, freedom from the constant need to prove ourselves or control everything around us. Because the truth is, the more we try to force things to go our way, the more they slip through our fingers. But when we loosen our grip, when we detach without disconnecting, we create space for life to unfold naturally. Two people can go through the exact same situation, and walk away with completely different experiences. One sees failure, the other sees a lesson. One feels stuck, the other sees an opportunity. The difference isn't in what happened, it's in how they chose to see it. Our perspective is the lens through which we experience life. It shapes how we interpret events, how we react to challenges, and ultimately how we feel about our circumstances. And the most important thing to understand, we have the ability to change that lens at any time. Imagine two hikers climbing the same mountain. One is focused on how steep the trail is, how exhausted they feel, how much further they have to go. The other looks around and sees the beauty of the landscape, feels gratitude for the journey, and embraces each step as progress. They're on the same path, facing the same terrain, but their perspectives create completely different experiences. Now apply that to everyday life. When faced with setbacks, one person might think, this is unfair, this always happens to me, I'll never succeed. Another might think, this is a challenge, but I can learn from it. This is a test of my resilience. I'll come back stronger. The situation itself doesn't change, but the emotional weight of it does, depending on how it's perceived. Think about how often we let minor inconveniences ruin our mood. A traffic jam, a delayed flight, a rude comment from a stranger. These things have the power to frustrate us only if we allow them to. But what if, instead of reacting with stress, we saw these moments as opportunities to practice patience? What if we viewed obstacles as redirections rather than roadblocks? Perspective also dictates our self-worth. Someone who constantly sees themselves as inadequate will find evidence to support that belief in every small mistake. But someone who chooses to see their growth, their progress, and their strengths will walk through life with a sense of confidence and purpose. The story we tell ourselves matters, and the most fascinating part, our perspective doesn't just shape our emotions, it shapes our actions. If we see challenges as overwhelming, we hesitate, procrastinate, or give up. But if we view them as stepping stones, we take action, we adapt, we push forward. Every day we have a choice. We can see problems or we can see possibilities. We can focus on what's missing or we can focus on what's present. We can let circumstances define us or we can define our own reality through the way we choose to see it. We've all been there. Someone says something rude and before we know it, we snap back. A situation goes south and frustration takes over before we even have time to think. It happens in a split second. That's what it means to react. It's instant, it's impulsive, it's driven by emotion rather than thought. But responding is different. It's intentional, it's measured, it's about pausing, processing, and choosing the best course of action instead of letting emotions take the wheel. Imagine someone cuts you off in traffic. A reaction is honking, yelling, maybe even chasing them down just to prove a point. But a response is recognizing that their bad driving has nothing to do with you, taking a deep breath, and moving on with your day. Same situation, completely different outcomes. One leaves you stressed and angry, the other keeps you in control of your peace. The key difference between reacting and responding is awareness. Reactions come from a place of habit, often rooted in fear, ego, or past experiences. When someone criticizes us, we might immediately get defensive because deep down, we fear not being good enough. When we face an unexpected challenge, we might panic because we're used to equating uncertainty with failure. Our reactions are wired into us over years of conditioning, but that doesn't mean we can't change them. Because here's the truth, emotions are natural, but they don't have to dictate our behavior. Let's take an argument, for example. Someone says something that pushes your buttons. Your instinct might be to fire back, prove them wrong, or escalate the situation. But what if you paused? What if you asked yourself, is this worth my energy? Am I responding from logic or just reacting from emotion? That moment of awareness creates space. Space to choose patience over anger, understanding over defensiveness, and peace over unnecessary conflict. This applies to every area of life. At work, a last-minute change can trigger stress, but instead of reacting with frustration, we can take a moment to assess and adapt. In relationships, a misunderstanding can cause tension, but instead of reacting with blame, we can respond with curiosity and clarity. And the most powerful part, when we learn to respond instead of react, we become unshakable. We stop giving other people control over our emotions. We stop letting circumstances dictate our mood. We move through life with intention rather than impulse, with clarity rather than chaos. Because when we react, we surrender control to the situation, but when we respond, we take control back. From the moment we're born, we're conditioned to seek approval. A child gets praised for good behavior, and they learn that validation comes from making others happy. A student gets applauded for high grades, and they start equating their worth with achievement. A person gets hundreds of likes on a post, and they feel a rush of confidence, but when the likes are few, that confidence fades. We spend our lives chasing external validation, measuring our worth by other people's opinions, social standards, and fleeting recognition. And without realizing it, we hand over control of our happiness to forces outside ourselves. But here's the problem. What's given by others can be taken away by others. If our peace depends on being liked, what happens when someone disapproves of us? If our confidence comes from compliments, what happens when the praise stops? If our happiness is tied to external success, what happens when we fail? The truth is, anything that comes from the outside can be lost. But inner peace, that's something no one can take from us, unless we let them. Imagine two people walking into the same room. One is completely at ease, unshaken by who notices them or what others think. The other is scanning the crowd, adjusting their posture, seeking reassurance from every glance and comment. The difference isn't in the environment. It's in where they place their sense of self-worth. True peace isn't found in how many people approve of us. It's found in knowing that we are enough, regardless of whether they do or not. Think about a time when you were deeply at peace. It probably wasn't when you were getting the most attention, the most likes, or the most applause. It was likely a moment of stillness, maybe in nature, maybe alone with your thoughts, maybe surrounded by people who loved you for who you truly are. That's what real peace feels like. It doesn't need validation, it doesn't need a spotlight, it just is. But how do we get there? How do we shift from seeking validation to cultivating inner peace? First, we have to redefine success. Instead of chasing external markers, money, status, approval, we focus on internal fulfillment. Did we show up authentically? Did we stay true to our values? Did we find joy in the process rather than just the outcome? Second, we stop outsourcing our worth. We stop looking for confirmation from the outside world and start validating ourselves. This doesn't mean we ignore feedback or stop caring about connection. It means we don't let external opinions dictate our self-esteem. Third, we practice detachment from praise and criticism. If we let compliments boost our ego, we also let criticism crush us. But when we stop giving both too much power, we free ourselves from the emotional roller coaster of seeking approval. Because at the end of the day, peace isn't something we find out there, it's something we build within. At the heart of being truly unbothered is one simple truth. Peace is an inside job. It doesn't come from perfect circumstances, from the approval of others, or from trying to control everything around us. It comes from mastering the art of letting go. Letting go of what we can't control so we can focus on what we can. Letting go of attachment so we can engage fully without losing ourselves. Letting go of old perspectives that keep us stuck and choosing to see life through a new lens. Letting go of impulsive reactions so we can respond with clarity and intention. Letting go of the need for external validation so we can build peace that doesn't depend on anything or anyone outside of us. Because in the end, the things that once drained us, frustrated us, and kept us restless, they only had power because we held on to them. The moment we release them, we step into something greater. Freedom, clarity, and the kind of unshakable peace that no one can take away.